291 BC, 3604 AM. Alexandrian scholar and Egyptian priest-historian Manetho studied a particularly old book known as the Egyptian Old Chronology of Egypt that cites 113 regnal descents of kings spanning back 36,525 years. This is akin to the solar year length of 365.25 days. However, this 36,525 years is actually a lunar code designed to be divided into 13 lunar months to produce 2810 years, which started before 291 BC, singling out the year 3100 BC. This was Enoch's 108th year of rule over the Sethite dynasty. 1. Secret cities of Old South America. 281 BC, 3614 AM. Older Celts who were defeated by the Macedonians in their failed invasion in 298 BC persuaded their younger kin that the time was ripe for another attempt. So many Celts volunteered for the raids on Macedon that the leaders had to divide their army into three hosts. The chieftain Cerethreus led his army into the southeast, into Thrace. Brennus marched on the Paeonians to the north of Macedon, while Bolgius headed straight for the heartland of Macedon. Ptolemy, royal title for king of Macedon, set out to drive the Celts off but was killed. Having successfully subdued Macedon, the army of Bolgius, for unknown reasons, retreated north, enraging Brennus, who determined then to lead future raids by himself. This was 50 years after Alexander of Macedon conquered Persia and the East. This was also 600 years after the Israelites founded the capital of Samaria in 881 BC, and 440 years after the last of the 10 tribes were deported into Assyria in 721 BC, where they were transplanted to the northern realms where they became Celts. 280 BC, 3615 AM. A relative of Alexander the Great's named Pyrrhus of the kingdom of Epirus invaded Italy and routed the Romans in 2 battles. The first battle in this year was at Heraclea, and the other would occur in 279 BC. Pyrrhus sought to take Sicily and Syracuse as well, but this angered the southern Mediterranean maritime power Carthage. Pyrrhus was exasperated at the tragic losses his forces took when they won against the Romans. This is the approximate date for when the Babylonian priest-historian Berossus composed a history of Babylon for the Greeks. His writings alleged to have derived from texts older than the flood. His books have not survived, however much has been preserved in the extensive quotations provided by several ancient authors. 279 BC, 3616 AM. Pyrrhus of Epirus defeated the Romans at Asculum, but the toll against his own army was high. Pyrrhus is recorded as saying, quote, "If we win one more battle against the Romans, we shall be completely ruined," unquote. This Roman defeat was exactly 230 years, 2760 months, 552 times 5, from the founding of the Republic of Rome in 509 BC. Privy to the intentions of Pyrrhus on Sicily and Syracuse, the Carthaginians forged an alliance with Rome and sent a fleet of warships to aid the Romans. Pyrrhus was up against too much, and with news of new Gallic invasions in northern Macedonia, Illyria, and even his kingdom of Epirus, Pyrrhus retreated after losing a battle near Naples. By this date, the Romans had heavily fortified northern Italy against further Gallic invasions, and this paid off, for the Gauls, Celts of Europe, were invading all around but leaving Italy alone. Brennus led a Celtic army of over 150,000 infantry and cavalry, according to Pausanias, into the Greek world. Historians recorded that during this invasion strange thunder and earthquakes were reported. This was exactly 324 years, 108 times 3, after the Cimmerians, Israelites later known as Gauls or Celts, migrated into and settled the Balkans. The Celts enjoyed a major population explosion. At the time of these invasions of Greece, other groups of Celts migrated north and west into Asia and Europe, known as the Latinic Celts, migrating further and further down the Danube River. Brennus led an invasion of Celts toward the Greek city of Delphi, seat of the famous oracle, while two other Celtic leaders led armies eastward toward the Bosporus Strait between Europe and Asia. These two men, Leonrius and Lutorius, guided three tribes into Asia Minor. Lutorius settled his people toward the coast by the ruins of Troy. Leonrius, with a much larger host, went to Byzantium and entered into a treaty with King Nicomedes of Bithynia in exchange for safe passage. As part of the treaty, Celts would serve as auxiliary forces to the Bithynian army. These Celts, known as the Gauls, were free to settle and roam Asia Minor, but had to leave Bithynia alone. Immediately, King Nicomedes began using his Celtic forces to defeat his enemies. This history is absolutely amazing. Exactly 400 years after the Danaan dynasty of Mycenae was founded in 1255 BC by the descendants of Ionian Israelites, the Assyrians drove out the dynasty of King Nicomedes, from the ancient Semitic city of Ugarit in 855 BC, these being descendants of Ionian Israelites. This exodus of the people of Nickdem was precisely 576 years, 144 times 4, before this year of 279 BC, when another wave of Israelite descendants merged with their older kin. Bithynia is a name derived from the Hebrew for house. This is the fourth and final alliance between Rome and Carthage. In this year of 279 BC, grave robbers in the Hunan province of China excavated a royal tomb and found what has come to be known as the ancient bamboo books, wherein is described a terrible earthquake and 5-planet alteration in the heavens, attended by meteoric rain and dated in Chinese seals that, according to scholars, indicate the year 1688 BC, 1 year off from actual 1687 BC Phoenix cataclysm. 1. History in quotations. 2. A short history of the world. 3. The philosopher and the druid. 6. Phoenicians. 7. Secrets and cities of old South America.